We'll do the opening again. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We're going to be covering WWE SummerSlam 2025. Last night was the big edition of Monday Night Raw. We went into Monday Night Raw basically. We might have known 2 or 3 matches for WWE SummerSlam. I can honestly tell you that I just have this weird feeling about this year's SummerSlam because of the fact that it's going to be a 2-night event. It's going to be coming to you from Newark, New Jersey, where the Giants and Jets play. We've had WrestleManias there in the past. It's going to be a big night. It's going to be a big moment. There's going to be a lot of people that travel in for the event. It's going to be one hell of a weekend with I'm sure they're going to have the big superstore. I'm sure they're going to have the superstar signings. I would hope they would do something like the WWE World to give the people like a moment to be going into it. But going into last night, we knew about the Jelly Roll, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre versus Logan Paul match that was set up during Saturday night's main event. We'll get to talking about that match a little bit down the road, but really surprised how fast people jumped on that match, saying that it was trash, that it didn't really deserve to be on SummerSlam. A lot of people were saying like how, AEW had like one hell of a show with All In, and, they've sort of gone away from trying to bring in outside sources to watch their show to boost their numbers. They're just going to go strictly wrestling, and that's what it seems to work. And right away, WWE goes to a celebrity and tries to use that to spice it up, and that's possibly one of the moments that's going to be there. I think this is going to be a damn good match. I'm excited to see Jelly Roll. I can tell you that I think he's an awesome artist. I don't listen to him a ton. He's got country influences in his music that I think if I listen to him more, I honestly think that I would really like him. But it's not like this dude's going to be going out there working the entire match. We've seen, celebrity matches in the past. And as long as it's like Steve Amell at SummerSlam, I want to say that was like 2015, maybe it was 2016, with him and wasn't it him and Wade Barrett against Cody Rhodes. No, it was Cody Rhodes and Wade Barrett against Steve Amell and Neville Pac from AEW. And that really blew our mind how far he was going to go. He really loved professional wrestling. On the other side, I can think of WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta with Snooki. That match is nowhere near good. But when they played the Jersey Shore music and she came down to the ring, people booed the hell out of Snooki. Nobody wanted to see her at WrestleMania. She did the one like cartwheel gymnastic spot into the corner, which set up the finish. And I think people saw that she took it serious and she tried and she didn't mess anything up. And, that night, everybody cheered Snooki out of the ring. You honestly really forgot the moment when she came out and she just got booed. I mean, I think that they're going to make sure that Jelly Roll gets into his spots where he is a big deal and people are going to like it. We also had Cody versus Cena for the World Heavyweight Championship match. We all know that that's going to be a big match. That's going to be main event night 2, and that's what people are going to be wanting to show up for. That's going to be a big deal. After Monday Night Raw, we basically got added Punk versus Gunther. We got Tiffany versus Naomi. Now we have Becky versus Lyra, Rhea versus Io versus Naomi. That's for the women's championship, with Naomi being the new champion after cashing in at Evolution. Just like she said on Raw, I thought she was going after the other belt, and she just came in and just basically said, "I'm gonna take this." Those are the matches that are locked in. They've already got match graphics. They've already put them out, and they've said that's going down. Now, after watching Raw, you would think that Dom versus AJ for the Intercontinental Championship. That's going to be locked in. We have Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu, United States Championship match. That should be no problem. And then the matches you got to kind of wonder about with 2 nights of SummerSlam and possibly them having more matches than the 4 to 5 match kind of deal. As of right now, I have 11 to 12 matches for both nights. Maybe that's averaging 6 matches a night. You would think Julia, the United States champion, she's got to have a match. I mean, they added these tag titles to the scene at when did they add these? They added these a few months ago. I mean, before WrestleMania, and then WrestleMania came and they had the Intercontinental Women's Champion in a tag match for the tag team titles. So that kind of shows you that the tag titles are higher on like the rankings than these singles belts. What is the point of having these belts if we're going to have 2-night events and we don't get to see the champion go down there? So Julia has to have somebody, maybe a Chelsea Green in there, possibly, I guess you can think of. And then with the Monday Night Raw tag titles, I think it's going to end up being the New Day versus the Raiders, and then Judgment Day will come in with the tag titles. On Monday Night Raw, when the New Day was in the back, they were asking for their rematch, and he said Adam Pearce said there are no rematches anymore. You have to work for them. You have to go out there and earn them. So possibly, I think it's just going to be a 3-way. We might get a match on Monday of the New Day versus the Raiders, but why not just have all 3 teams in there? I don't have the SmackDown tag titles that are going to be on there, but the Wyatt Six just won them. They've got DIY. They've got the Motor City Machine Guns. Maybe they're just possibly going to have another 4 corners like Bonanza match of everybody going on everybody. And we just do something like that. And the tag titles for the women's, I'm going to put Judgment Day going up against Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. A lot of people gave thanks to Charlotte's article. The Athletes Tribune that came out that said that how much hate she gets out there and on social media, just people just sending her messages about how much they hate her. I've always been a Charlotte fan. I understand the difference between, is it Ashley Flair and Charlotte Flair? I've never been at a point when I thought that, I hated her or anything like that. But it seems like they struck a chord where they turned her into a babyface. At Evolution, I think that Charlotte Flair got one of the loudest emotions of people pouring out their feelings to her. And I know that when the build-up to WrestleMania 41 was around, it seemed like Charlotte was trying to be the babyface, and then just at one point she was like, this ain't working, and she just decided that she was going to just straight go heel on everybody. And I don't really know what they're doing with the Alexa Bliss thing of them saying they're not friends, they're just working together. I think they got to run that back together. And the pouring out of emotion that Charlotte got, I wouldn't be surprised if Charlotte and Alexa Bliss walk out with the tag titles there. And then the big one that could be split up, this could be 2 matches, it could be 1 match. I'm not quite sure how to help you with that. Calm down, Alexa. I ain't talking to you. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I think it's honestly going to be a tag match. I know that you could break them up to fill out the 2 nights. If you go Roman Reigns versus Braun Breaker, that could be the big moment where Braun Breaker was running through fools. When he was doing the gauntlet match on Monday Night Raw. Maybe they were building him up because they knew that Braun has been looked at as he's a star. He's been a former Intercontinental champion twice. He's beat Jey Uso, but there's a difference between wrestling Jey Uso and wrestling against Roman Reigns. And I think they just needed to make him look like it's going to be a big deal. John Pollock of Post Wrestling, they're based out of Toronto. They've been around forever. The Review Away podcast, where they talk about Monday Night Raw. They also review basically anything in the world of professional wrestling. They've done books, they've done movies, they've definitely done shows, pay-per-views. Ever since they went out on their own with Post Wrestling, I think they've honestly stayed the same, but gotten bigger. And John Pollock on there. I used to love a podcast where Pollock would do one with the guy from MLW. I know he has another guy that he does. I think he comes out on Thursdays. I can't remember the other guy's name, but they kind of do the same thing where they just go over the world of wrestling news, kind of like headline by headline, and like break everything down the best they can. Pollock came out and he basically was saying that Rollins is not hurt. This is a storyline. He knew about the finish with LA Knight 2 days beforehand. And Pollock is a guy out there who's not trying to get himself over. I don't believe that he's lying to us. It makes no sense to make up a lie about that. I don't know, but I think they're trying to set up something for Seth Rollins that's going to be big, elaborate, for a big Money in the Bank cash-in moment, a good way or a bad way, and him sort of resurrecting himself when we all think that he's going to be on the shelf for, 6 months to a year because of his knee injury that has been around since WrestleMania 40. And then all of a sudden the dude just shows up at SummerSlam and is just ta-da. I mean, the Money in the Bank briefcase, they made no mention of, finding a new home for it. They didn't want to, pass it over. Like LA Knight beat Seth Rollins, so now he's the Money in the Bank holder. They had Heyman saying that he had a year to cash in from the day he won it. And, until that year is up, there is no headline to say that, he can't use this. So they're rolling with it, whatever it is, instead of trying to cover it up and make it disappear. It could go either way. I think Jey Uso versus Bronson Reed, it's not the biggest match of all time. But you could have, Jey Uso hit the, tsunami train of just getting hit, boom, 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 boom. And, or you could just have Jey Uso, rise from the ashes, beat Bronson Reed. And then you got to hope that, Gunther, retains the championship, and then all of a sudden, Jey Uso could find himself getting a rematch, going after that world heavyweight title. So it's a good card. It honestly is a really, really good card. They could do a little bit of fixing, not having so many three-ways with the tag titles. Julia possibly could not have a match. They could just leave her off or whatever it is, but that's pretty darn close to what it's going to be. It's just going to be like how they want to move things around. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. I'm out on my lunchtime walk. There was a few matches that I needed to put a bow on for SummerSlam to finish up my my full show preview. One of the matches that was added to SummerSlam was Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. Honestly, this is a match that I don't really understand what is going on. I know the backstory. I've seen all the steps along the way. Basically, the Karrion Kross character, I don't even really know any of his storylines that had ever panned out. But he's been a guy that's always appearing in the back, trying to expose the truth of AJ Styles and now Sami Zayn. And, trying to say that they have, bad feelings in their heart, that they're truly bad guys. And I'll tell you the truth, I want to believe the Sami Zayn heel turn is coming sooner than later. I felt ever since the Raw after WrestleMania, when he was out there yeeting with Jey Uso, that it was coming. I didn't know that it was going to take quite this long, but I don't think Karrion Kross is the guy that's going to expose it. I think it's going to be Sami Zayn just like almost like having a moment of weakness, like almost of like desperation, where he has to do his friend wrong in order to fulfill his quest of becoming a world champion in WWE. I thought that was going to involve him having the money in the bank, and then maybe cashing in on Jey Uso, because the opportunity was there. He just happened to be standing there when somebody came out and laid out Jey, and he has these conflicting moments of like, do I, don't I, when else am I going to have a chance? I want this belt so bad that it's overcoming to me. But I mean, other than that, like Karrion Kross is just, trying to beat this out of him. And, on Monday, they have the sort of face-to-face when Sami Zayn is having the sit-down interview. And Karrion Kross just basically gives him the weapon of choice. He gives him the lead pipe. He places it in his lap, or he places it in his hands. I can't quite remember. So Sami Zayn finishes the interview with the weapon there. Now, does the weapon come into play at SummerSlam? I would guess so. I think that's going to be the main focal point of this. Karrion Kross, it hasn't been announced. I know that when he had his big promo after WrestleMania and that documentary came out about his week, I thought that Karrion Kross is a really cool dude. I'm not going to tell you that, like, I was a huge fan of his or anything like that. I mean, like, when his t-shirt was announced and rolled out, I didn't buy one, so I'm not going to say that, like, I've been with him since day one, but I think he is a cool dude, and I bought his book when it went up for sale. I'm sure that once the book gets rolled out sooner than later, I'll get my copy. And I don't really even know it's about his wrestling career. I think it's more about his life. But he seemed like somebody that I wanted to get to know more about. When he was in WWE, when he had the Final Testament, I thought that group was just badass. I didn't understand how those guys lost. All three of those guys were freaking huge. They had one of the best managers in the history of the game. And Scarlett is one of the baddest chicks in WWE. I remember, seeing her wrestle when she was in TNA. I remember seeing her wrestle on the Indies. And the fact that WWE doesn't even use her, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But then up until this point, they weren't even using Karrion Kross. Now, Kross having a match on SummerSlam, you would think that dude's getting re-signed. I mean, like, why else would they give him this much exposure, putting him on there? But I don't really know what the next steps are. If I was in charge, the way I think it's going to play out, I think that Sami Zayn is going to win at SummerSlam. God's honest truth. But I still think that they're playing out this storyline, and Zayn's not going to have to say that, he's a bad dude and he wants to turn heel, or whatever the words are that he has to say at the end. But Zayn's saying that he'll do whatever, Karrion wants him to do if he beats him. I think the shock is going to be Sami's actual heel turn, or it's going to be in a moment when you don't know what's happening until it's happening. But like, you can see, we're going to have warning to yell at the TV, like, no, Sami, don't do it. And he's going to do it. But I don't think that they're going to, like, you're not going to see it basically until it happens. It's going to be a moment of like shock and awe is what I think it's going to be. So SummerSlam, Sami Zayn, Karrion Kross. I got Sami getting the win here. But in the long run, I think we're going to see Karrion Kross proving that he was right. that Sami is a bad dude. Going to women's championship for the SmackDown side. We've got Tiffany going against Jade. Jade again, of course, she won the SummerSlam title shot by winning the Queen of the Ring at Night of Champions. Who did she defeat in the final? I can't remember who she beat in the final on the pay-per-view. Maybe it was Naomi, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's a little bit of a weird match, honestly, in my mind. You're almost going babyface versus babyface. I know that when Tiffany was in NXT, even on the main roster before, coming out of Nia Jax's shadow, she was a heel. But to go babyface for a major championship, I don't know. I think we're going to see the coronation of Jade. I think Jade's going to come out on top in this one. I honestly, the more I watch Jade and more I pay attention to her in WWE, if she was heel, especially if they found some way. I know many women's wrestlers don't have, mouthpiece wrestlers, be their managers or anything like that. But if Jade had somebody that could be her mouthpiece and talk for her, I think it would make that character honestly so much bigger, so much better that, she didn't have to do the talking for herself. I just think that Jade's going to be Tiffany. I don't got no ifs, ands, and buts about it, but that's definitely a bet that I would make. It's taken a little bit longer for her to be the main chick in WWE since coming over from AEW. But I think it's time. I think that's what they're going to be doing with her. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. Strange was thinking about the tag team championship match that's going to be going down at SummerSlam for the women's belts. We've got Roxanne Perez, Raquel Rodriguez coming in from the Judgment Day as your tag team champions. They're going to be going up against Charlotte and Alexa Bliss. Charlotte and Alexa, both former WWE champions. You would think that they're just kind of like finding a spot for them on the main card. I don't want to say that like Charlotte is like starting to slip and fall down a little bit, because Charlotte's always been one of my favorite girls in the women's division of WWE. But she really has done just about everything. But she has climbed the mountaintop to WrestleMania 2 years in a row, not been able to get it done, kind of like passed the torch. She did it at 39 to Rhea Ripley. She did it at 41 to Tiffany Stratton. It looks like Tiffany is going to be doing the honors to Jade to ascend her to the mountaintop that we all thought she was going to be at since coming over from AEW. But in back-to-back weeks, or back-to-back matches in the same week on Raw and on SmackDown, we've had Alexa Bliss lose on SmackDown. We had Charlotte Flair lose on Monday. I don't know. It's not looking good. I thought they were just going to walk in, take the titles, and then basically start their own new storyline of trying to work together, even though they're not friends. But, the last few times we've seen them, they really have been friends. What was I talking about? I don't think the Charlotte match was on Monday. There was a lot of women's stuff on Monday, but I think that the Charlotte match was on last Friday. I'm pretty sure. Not 100%, but, they're having their problems, but I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense if Charlotte and Alexa, if they don't win, are they just gonna start fighting each other? I keep bouncing it back and forth. I kept thinking that they were gonna win. Now they've lost these singles matches. Maybe they have to work together in order to pull it up over the top. So you know what? I'm going all in as of right now. I'm going to push my chips to the middle of the table. I think, honestly, Charlotte and Alexa are going to win the titles at SummerSlam. I'm not really sure where the storyline is going of them saying that they're not friends. but they're working together because that's the only way they seem that they can be, winning matches here. So, hey, let's roll with it. Alexa and Charlotte to get the win. We've got new tag champs at SummerSlam. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today, doing my little, lunchtime walk, trying to get some steps in, and thinking about SummerSlam. This is a video that I've already touched on earlier, talking about the Jelly Roll and Randy Orton match against, Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. We've seen this match, in WWE 1,000 times. I don't really understand the public outcry of wrestling fans saying that they don't want to see, Jelly Roll wrestle in WWE. This is something that WWE basically pulls out of the bag, like almost any time there's somebody with some sort of, celebrity or fame that they can get some sort of a rub off of. And this is just one match on a 2-night SummerSlam. It's going to be what it's going to be. I think they're going to create a big moment, and it's going to be something that they play out like in, video clips, from here and there. But I don't think it's really going to affect what SummerSlam is. It's just one match. It is what it is. And I think they're going to go out of their way to create a moment where Jelly Roll looks great. I mean, he's done all the right things. You can really tell that he's there for the right reasons. It's not like they went out and got somebody from the Jersey Shore. I don't really do reality television, but like when TNA was bringing in those people, you could clearly tell that they were just there for the easy payday to cash in, because the Dixie Carter was calling and asking them to be there, and they can ask for the world, and they got it. But like when Snooki showed up WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta, when she made her entrance, she was easily heavily booed, but when she went in the ring, did the minimal amount she had to do, didn't mess up, when she got the win, everybody loved her. And she got this huge emotion on the way out. And I don't understand why Snooki's not been put into the WWE Hall of Fame. But the things that have popped up in this last week is Drew McIntyre put a video up on Twitter basically saying that he was locked out of returning to America. He left the country to go to one of his friend's wedding, and the guard said he knew who he was, knew he lived in America, knew what he did, but wasn't going to let him come back. Now, I don't know if this is to explain an absence. It seems like Drew McIntyre has had a lot of weddings in his life recently, going to the Jinder Mahal wedding, and now he's at this one. But in the video, he's making it seem like he doesn't think he's going to be at SummerSlam. WWE, they didn't talk about this on Raw. I'm guessing they're either giving it time, or Drew McIntyre is just working his online Twitter magic to work the wrestling fans into this big, huge thing of, who is going to replace Drew. I think Raw would have at least hinted at it if it was real, but they left it out there. So I think Drew's gonna be there. I don't see anything that would keep them from returning. It's not like somebody like Drew McIntyre is going to get behind on like some sort of paperwork or something like that that's going to keep him out of the country. I remember, I think it was probably like 2010, it did happen to Drew and Wade Barrett, who are new stars on the main roster, and maybe something slipped through the cracks, but no way they're going to do that with, exposed stars that are going to be there. But if I had to guess, there's no doubt in my mind that Jelly Roll and Randy Orton are getting the win here. I know that they should be playing off on Randy Orton, the RKO, and all that jazz, but the stories that I've heard that, when Jelly Roll was at the Performance Center, putting his work in, that, he was being helped trained by The Undertaker. I keep thinking to myself, like, I wouldn't be surprised if The Undertaker shows up and helps Jelly Roll. Like, we see some sort of, like, choke slam on Logan Paul or Drew McIntyre. And I think that would be one hell of a moment that gives Jelly Roll one hell of a win there. I don't know. I think people are making a big, huge deal over, a celebrity wrestling match. We've seen it at SummerSlams. We've seen it at WrestleManias years over and over and over. It just happens that this one, I think the dude really cares about wrestling, and I think the dude really wants to be there. So, I'm all for it. I think it's going to be one hell of a night that's going to add to it. It's not like it's, the main event and this guy's going to leave WWE champion, after beating John Cena. He's going to pin Logan Paul. And I think it's going to make Logan Paul a bigger star in the long run. Honestly, I think that's why he's done these two, matches. The one with Money in the Bank with John Cena and Cody Rhodes. And now he's doing this one with Jelly Roll. I think it's a big deal. I think it's going to be cool. So we'll see what's going down with that. But, Jelly Roll to get the win with Randy Orton, SummerSlam 2025. Let's roll out. The big decision, if they're going to do Roman J. Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed as a singles match or a tag match, I really think that they could do it as a tag match and it could be just as big. The interaction between Roman and CM Punk on Monday Night Raw was awesome. I just didn't understand if, the match was going on and Jey Uso came out to fight off Bronson Reed to help out CM Punk. And then Roman Reigns came to help Jey Uso because he had just gotten, speared by Braun Breaker and decided that was enough. Where was Roman Reigns when Bronson Reed cheated and got Jey Uso eliminated? Why didn't he come down at that point to beat up Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker? Was it because the Jey Uso, he couldn't get down there fast enough and Uso had already been eliminated and didn't want to help CM Punk, that he was going to have to do it on his own? Or did Roman just not want to see Jey Uso get beat up for no reason and he came running down there? Because CM Punk, you could see it on his face. He was like, are you going to help me up after he helped out Jey Uso? And, he put his hand out, basically like, pick me up. And then he just put his hands out like, what the hell are we doing here? It didn't really make any sense. But they're going to have interaction. It's just a matter of when the heck they're going to have interaction. And I think that it's going to involve that championship. I think that Roman is going to want to be the main dog, especially once CM Punk beats Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think it's going to lead us to Roman versus Punk. And I think Gunther's just going to have to wait in line and wait his turn. But the main event of night one that honestly I would do to sort of, they have no problem coming out and saying that, matches that main event night one are main event matches of the show. They've used that for WrestleMania when talking about Sami Zayn, when talking about the Usos, when talking about Kevin Owens. I really believe that you got a main event night two. And I think that's what the storyline is going to be for CM Punk going into WrestleMania. He had his WrestleMania moment where he got the headline night one. Now I think it's going to be like he wants to go all in. I wouldn't be surprised that Punk wins the Rumble in 2026. We've already seen him go over the hump going to Saudi Arabia on the Night of Champions. So it's not going to be a problem with him going to Night of Champions for the Royal Rumble. I still think that's really, really weird. But it shows you in this world today, if you got enough money, you can buy anything. But WWE giving away one of the at least one of the big four. But, what is it? Like they run 11, 12, of these big shows a year, giving one of those away to go over there when they're already going over there. I don't know if that's going to count of one of the 2 shows they have to do throughout the year. It'd be a surprise if they go over there 3 times, but these guys give them so much money, and they might have to make up the 2020. I don't remember if they went over there in 2021 year. Maybe that's what they're trying to do is make up years on the contract when, COVID was going on or something like that. But I put Punk versus Gunther in that main event spot of night 1. Him, being in the main event spot, going after the World Heavyweight Championship. I had a question with it because at the end of Raw, Michael Cole, as soon as the match was done, said CM Punk, one of his main goals since coming back to WWE was winning a World Heavyweight Championship to, sort of put a trophy on his career. The ending part is not 100% what he said. I can't remember it 100%, but he definitely wanted to win one of the major championships in WWE. I guess it doesn't matter if it's a World Heavyweight Championship. It doesn't matter if it's WWE Championship. But then rewind a year and talk about, no, I scratch that. Rewind a month and think about Night of Champions and the build to there. When Cena and Punk were in the ring, Cena was talking, Punk was talking to Cena, and he said that he knows the emotions that come to him. Holding the WWE Championship, it changes you into a different person. It happened to him in 2011 to 2012, where he basically started his reign as a babyface and it ended up turning heel. And it was just that power and that greed and everything that comes with it. And that's why he doesn't want to be WWE champion, but he will fight Cena for that championship if it means that Cena is not going to be champion anymore. So he basically came out and he said that he didn't want to be champion, but Cole's saying he does. So does he or doesn't want any to be the champion? I think that's going to be it. But I don't think there's any doubt in my mind other than, a CM Punk going to Triple H and basically saying like, hey, I love being here. I love being on the roster. I love helping out all these guys. It's fun going out there and wrestling. Unless he comes to him and says, I don't want to be champion. I just don't want that kind of responsibility. I don't want to be carrying the ball. There's too many, stars in that locker room that could use it, that need it. I think Punk's winning this match. I mean, if I opened up like a wrestling casino where you could come in like a sports book and bet on wrestling, Punk would be my heavy favorite in this. Now, the storyline is really going to be that CM Punk is the aging superstar. He's been in the game, and Gunther's just going to beat him down. He's going to lean on him, put the choke on him and this, that, and the other. And how is Punk going to overcome that? The biggest bully that there is on the yard. But I'm not sure how he does that as of right now. But I got Punk winning that match. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. Today's Friday. I'm home from work. I just got back from Costco. I think everybody has pretty much seen the reports out there on Seth Rollins. Dave Meltzer came out and basically gave an update on what he said after Saturday night's main event. I think everybody's kind of coming out and saying that Seth Rollins' injury is a storyline. It's to make you think that he basically went away and then he's going to surprisingly pop up on CM Punk, possibly at SummerSlam 2025, if he wins the championship from Gunther. And he's going to steal the show, and it's going to be one of the best cash-ins of all time, because you're going to go back and look at that LA Knight match on Saturday night's main event and realize that he had himself go down with an injury. He gave himself an L in the record book to give him like one of the biggest wins possibly of his career. I talked about this. I think I wouldn't have been able to talk about it on my Saturday night's main event review, but I think I talked about it on my Monday Night Raw review. How I was listening to the Review Away podcast from Post Wrestling, and John Pollock, out of the middle of nowhere, just kind of said that he knew the finish of the Seth Rollins match 2 days before it aired on Saturday night's main event. And that was a live event. Kind of says that if Rollins was going to go down with an injury, it was a planned injury and it was going to be a storyline. Everything happened exactly the way that his source told them it was going to happen. I thought it was weird that, John Pollock, who I think he's an awesome podcaster. I've listened to him, honestly, for a really long time. In this last year, leading up to WrestleMania, I've really gotten into his shows more than I have in the last few years, but I make sure I go out of my way for the Monday Night Raw reviews and the pay-per-view reviews. I'm always listening to him and Wei Ting, and he's not really a guy that comes out and breaks news stories. He'll kind of talk about news stories, but he's not the guy like leading the charge. So I thought it was funny that he was the only person kind of reporting that the Rollins thing sounded funny. I texted my buddy Mike. Today, I apologized to Mike that I kind of sent him like a huge spoiler. I know that CM Punk is one of the guys that really keeps him involved in wrestling as of right now, and Seth Rollins is one of his favorites, and to kill like such a big moment for him, I honestly think that sucks. With that out of the fog, I think that the CM Punk versus Gunther match at SummerSlam, honestly, seems like it could be really, really good. You could see how, Seth Rollins stirred the pot a little bit a few weeks ago when he showed up on Monday Night Raw and he came down to Gunther and basically put him on watch, that he's not just looking at John Cena and Cody Rhodes. He could come down and cash in on Gunther at any time. He didn't feel like Gunther was paying attention to him. And at that time, I was kind of wondering, like, where is CM Punk? Seth Rollins showed up. He stopped CM Punk from beating Cody Rhodes John Cena at Night of Champions. You think that this guy'd come running down and start like bashing his face in. Punk had said on the lead up that he really didn't want to be champion because he knows how being champion changed his mindset in the past, and it kind of warps your brain and it kind of turns you into a different person. So I know he's upset that he didn't win it, but maybe he was at a point in his career where he's all right of it. But the second I kind of passed that through my mind, Punk came running down, attacking Rollins, and I thought it was hilarious that Gunther just kind of like backed into the corner. He almost pretty much put his hands up, and he was like, "Hey, this ain't my fight. I'll let these guys fight all day long. I'm not involved in this." Gunther is a pretty smart dude. If you think how he kind of like disappeared after WrestleMania 41 when he lost to Jey Uso. He didn't really start any beef. He didn't get any matches. So that way, once he got his rematch, he'd be good to go and he'd be like fresh as a daisy. Unlike Jey, who he was warning, kept running out basically in every match on Monday Night Raw, getting involved with every storyline, fighting fights that weren't his fight. He just basically kind of put his hands up and said it is what it is. And when Rollins was able to run away, Punk ran over to Gunther in the corner and just basically was like, "Hey, you stay out of your business and I'll stay out of mine." And who knows the foreshadowing. 2 weeks later, Punk and Gunther are going to be going at it for the championship after Punk won the gauntlet match on Monday Night Raw. So I am pumped for this one. If WWE doesn't get scared with the amount of people tweeting about it as of right now, I feel bad to my buddy Mike that I just straight up tweeted it to him, like saying it in the videos. Like, if you're listening to Stevie Breach in 2025, this is not 2010, 2011. You're pretty much in the know. You're on Reddit, you're on Twitter, you're listening to Meltzer, you're listening to just about everybody out there who has a podcast because you love the world and you love the stories of professional wrestling. But we got till that. I'm guessing that Punk and Gunther is going to be the main event of night 1 on August 2nd. So we got 2 weeks until we get there. It's enough time for WWE to kind of like change on the fly. We're going to see the way they do it. WWE Unreal is going to be coming up, honestly, sooner than later. I'm really looking forward to that night when those honestly kind of debut. I'm kind of waiting to get home from work on Tuesday, and I'm hoping that that's going to be like, I don't know if it's a documentary. It kind of makes it seem like it's going to be like shows in an episode. You can really see they filmed stuff at the Royal Rumble. They filmed stuff at Elimination Chamber. They definitely filmed stuff at WrestleMania. So I don't know if they're showing that like 3-month window of January until like March, April this year, and maybe it'll end at WrestleMania. I'm not really sure what we're looking forward to, but the trailer that they dropped the other day made it seem even crazier than it is now. And we've seen, Triple H talking to The Rock about what was going to happen, when he slit his throat in an Elimination Chamber. So at least we know that The Rock is not off limits for this deal. So there's a lot of stuff coming up. And I just remembered that I got to start playing NCAA football today. So I'm going to eat my lunch. I'm going to eat my pizza, upload the video, play game 2 in the year of Stevie Breach coaching Tennessee. See if we can bring the Natty back home. I'll tell you the truth. I play on freshman mode. Last year it took me a couple of seasons before I bumped it up, but it does seem that this year's game is a lot harder than last year's game right out of the box. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today as I'm driving home on my way home from work. We had a pretty good day. It was pretty long. It was pretty tedious. We had like an inspector person in there, so we were kind of making sure we didn't make any mistakes, and sometimes that day just drags on and on and on. You're not really doing a whole bunch, but you just have things running through your mind. And to tell you the truth, I was thinking about SummerSlam, and I was thinking about how big a show this is going to be. And I'm really starting to like try to put the pieces together. John Pollock is the guy in my world that basically did all the dirty work, and I think he's the guy that kind of busted open the Seth Rollins storyline, with that he really isn't injured, and it's a storyline about him cashing in the Money in the Bank. And I kind of just put all of my eggs into that basket, basically saying that I think that the Seth Rollins storyline is going to be connected to the Gunther versus CM Punk deal, and I was thinking that it was all going to be about Seth Rollins spoiling CM Punk's party. And in my mind, like if I had to put money on this, tonight I'm going to be going live on the Rock and Knowles channel with Jeremy. I think we're going live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about SummerSlam, but I think we're going to try to do our first themed show, and we're going to be talking about like the best matches that we've ever seen live. But that's going to be fun. Make sure you stop on by or check out his channel and watch the replay whenever you get a chance to see this. But if I had to make my prediction video, I'm pretty sure I would be predicting that CM Punk is going to get the 3 count, is going to come out as WWE champion, and then I think immediately Seth Rollins would cash in on CM Punk. And now I'm really thinking about what happened on Monday Night Raw. And, you know, basically, we had Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman all out in the ring. And then basically, you know, Braun Breaker was talking, and Roman Reigns interrupted and made his way down to the ring. As soon as he got his introduction in, Paul Heyman started talking, and Paul just basically threw out the information that Seth Rollins is injured, and Seth Rollins is going to be out for a very, very long time. And basically asked if he wanted to reunite the band. He was saying that they had leadership opportunities where if Roman would come over and be with Paul Heyman yet once again, he would have the muscle of Bronson Reed and the muscle of Braun Breaker. I thought it was funny that in storyline, you know, we've got the Bloodline kind of scattered everywhere. We've got Solo Sikoa going up against Jacob Fatu. We've got, you know, the Usos who have, you know, turned babyface. Jay's one of the biggest stars in WWE as of right now. You know, we've got guys on both sides of the spectrum. And, you know, Roman Reigns put it out into the universe that he was thanking Jey Uso. And then he thanked Solo Sikoa. And I was kind of like, oh, didn't see that one coming. They're still family. They're, as Roman put it, they're still, you know, God's family? God, he said God's something. And it was kind of like, oh. And maybe in my mind, they were setting the table for down the road, the Bloodline to finally come together. And I don't care who they go up against. That would be one of the most dominant factions of all time. Even if they only did it for, you know, a SummerSlam or just a one-time deal. I mean, you put Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, you put Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu. You know, you can put the other guys in there with them. They haven't really done a whole bunch in WWE, but I mean, you put that together. I mean, that's stronger than the NWO Elite, or, you know, that NWO group that, you know, got back together after the finger poke of doom. I don't know who's bigger, better, stronger than that group right there. I mean, you've got just about every singles title covered in WWE with people in that group. You know, Roman turned him down, said that that's not where he wanted to go. He felt that Paul Heyman was a snake, and he's going to steal credit for everything that you do. But, you know, Paul, you know, he offered up the Seth Rollins is injured all on his own. So I think that honestly kind of puts Roman Reigns into this what's the word of the quadundrum? Like that this storyline is running just as thick as it was at WrestleMania 41. It's almost like no time has passed since Paul turned on Roman, turned on CM Punk, made sure that both of them got left laying on the Raw after WrestleMania. Time has passed. CM Punk's been fighting a lot of people, but we're almost getting right back to where we were before Roman took his good little vacation and disappeared after WrestleMania. We don't even know what he was doing. He didn't say that he needed time to get over Paul Heyman leaving him in the dirt and turning his back on him, that he had trust issues. He didn't say that he had an injury, you know, from anything. It just, he was gone, and now he's back. It almost really didn't quite make any sense. So if I run with my original storyline, where CM Punk beats Gunther, becomes World Heavyweight Champion, Seth Rollins comes out to cash in, what if after he cashes in the briefcase, before there is a 3 count, what if Roman comes down to disrupt Rollins. And even though Rollins' plan was to screw CM Punk, now we're set for the clash in Paris for, Roman versus Seth, which is kind of weird to me, because when you go to WWE.com and you look at the picture that they use for Roman Reigns' return to WWE, they don't use a picture from him actually returning on Raw. They pick a picture of Roman getting into the ring and Seth Rollins, not like really in the background, but not in the forefront, is in the ring waiting for him to get in the ring. It looks like they're about to have a promo against each other. So why are they using this old picture? Is it they're subliminally trying, whatever. Are they trying to get in our head and make us think of Rollins versus Roman when they really have this in front of us? Seth Rollins, I said it the other day in a video, and I think it's the best way to say it, and I apologize if it's insensitive and it hurts somebody's feelings, but his resurrection on SummerSlam, when he comes back and tries to screw everybody out of the title, I think is going to be great. I think it's going to be awesome if he wins the title. If he doesn't win the title and his plan is sort of, blown up in his face, I could go either way. So, I think this SummerSlam is going to be awesome, guys. I really, really do. And I think this thing's just rolling out even more. I don't even know what to entitle this video. Maybe it's just Roman Reigns stops Seth Rollins from cashing in at SummerSlam 2025. So we're going to have a good match. It's probably going to be Roman and Jay. And they're going to be in a tag match against Bronson and Braun. I thought that it was going to be... I thought that Gunther and Punk would be the main event of night 1. But why would Roman be at SummerSlam if his match is on night 2? And would they bring Roman back if he's not the main event and he just comes back later in the night? That's the part that doesn't get me. So I'm not 100% there, but I'm pretty damn close to 100%. Those are the matches that we know we're going to get at SummerSlam. When looking at the matches that quite possibly could be put on there, Monday Night Raw, we had Adam Pearce talking with Dom and the Judgment Day in the back. Dom had his medical clearance that he is still injured. He's not going to be able to wrestle. I don't know. At first, I thought that they were saying that Dom was dealing with a broken heart because of the fact that Liv Morgan was not going to be there. I don't know if he has an actual injury, like to his shoulder, his elbow, his arm. I don't know what doctor note he keeps getting, but Adam Pearce basically said that he is going to be reevaluated. And, once it's basically said that he is able to wrestle, he is going to make Dom versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam. That match is basically already out there. You should already be putting up the match graphic. That match is coming down. We have 2 weeks. Even if he's able to get clearance next week, is he going to get a clearance the next week? We have the funny spot of AJ praying up to the heavens, and then basically when Dom tried to pray for the opposite, he was just praying against Dom praying. We haven't seen comical funny AJ since TNA trying to be Ric Flair in Fortune, and I don't even think that was supposed to be funny. I think he was actually trying to get that character over. And because it was so different than what we all knew AJ Styles could be, I know that Tom Cruise, Mel Gibson, all those good actors back in the day, they played parts that they were really not that person. They're just good actors. AJ, to me, we could all tell that he was not that dude back in the day, but just coming out there and just trying to be funny. I'm sure there was something along the way, with him and the Good Brothers in 2016. I know that we beat up John Cena thing kind of got over, and that wasn't funny. Maybe they did something funny, but just like trying to make us laugh. I didn't think the glasses thing was the best thing, but I think he's gotten this, I'm watching you. I think he's really gotten that over. If they do a title change or not, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not the biggest contract talk guy, but they said that AJ signed a 1-year deal. It might be his last deal. Is him becoming Intercontinental Champion the big moment that's kind of going to end his career that he rides out on, I guess you could say. Monday Night Raw, we've got the Intercontinental Championship. We've talked a little bit about this match earlier, but we had the three-way just a little bit ago, and then once that was said and done, on Monday Night Raw, we had Lyra Valkyrie going up against Bayley. They had a 2 out of 3 falls match. Easily was the best match of the night on Raw. But I'll tell you the truth. This match is going to be for the Intercontinental Championship. I am done with Lyra versus Becky. The matches aren't bad. It just seems like we've seen this forever. And I think it's really cool. I'm not sure if WWE is using Becky to try and get the Intercontinental Championship over since they lost. They launched these belts. It's been hard for them to get traction on because they launched these new belts and then they just didn't use them. There's no house shows. There's no way to get these belts over other than putting them on TV, and they left them off for so long. Or I don't know if it's Becky trying to get I don't know if it's Becky trying to get Lyra Valkyrie over, and that's why they keep running this match to death. But Becky has gotten the win in the last 2 the matches. Lyra has to get the win at SummerSlam, and they need to put this feud to end. Becky Lynch, in my opinion, I don't even know why she's messing around with this Intercontinental Championship. She's, won the Royal Rumble. She's main evented WrestleMania. She's been champion this time over. There was a time period around WrestleMania 5. Becky Lynch was the most over person there was in the company altogether. I mean that's the only way to do it. I remember the run-in between Becky and John Cena on SmackDown, where John Cena even called Becky Lynch the man and showed her respect that way. I don't know how you do it, but I mean it can't be that hard. Becky Lynch needs to be in made feuds. But then again, we might be at a point where Becky Lynch is wrestling for her own reason. It's not like, she's married to Seth Rollins. They're not, dying to pay the bills. She just wants to go out there and do something that she cares about. So maybe she just pointed at Lyra and was like, hey, I want her to have as good a career I had. And if it takes, me dropping down to have a feud with her to start off her career, I think she's all for it. I mean, I didn't think that when she lost that cage match to Liv Morgan that she was going to be on so damn long, but she's wrestling royalty to the point where people, really care about her. So I got Lyra winning the Intercontinental Championship back. I don't really know what night that's going to be, but I think that's going to be one of the matches on there. Naomi pretty much won the weekend of WWE Evolution. She had the match against Jade, and then she came back and she cashed in her Money in the Bank briefcase during the Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky match, turning it into a 3-way. She basically nailed Io, taking her out of the match with the briefcase, just right to the face. Went in there, hit the big move on Rhea, and surprise, surprise, she walked out with the champion. She called her shot. And people kept on thinking because she was on SmackDown, she was going to go after Tiffany. And, she's just basically said that she was done with SmackDown. SmackDown's possibly becoming a lot better of a show. They're going to be moving now to 2 hours. I believe this, I don't think many people watched the 4th of July episode. So I think it's going to be this episode of SmackDown. We're going to go to 2 hours, and I think it's going to be one of the first shows that people really notice the change. And I think 2 hours is really going to pick up the pace. You're possibly going to notice that a lot of superstars sort of fall off. Might get to a point when, you know, some superstars you really like might get released, and they're not going to be there anymore. But I think it's going to make for things in the better. But in this match, Rhea Ripley, the last few months, has really been fighting an inner battle with herself. Since leaving the Judgment Day, she's been like she still wears the dark. She's the black. She's the purple. She's like the Undertaker of the past of like 94. But when you're watching her in the ring, she has heel tendencies. I don't know how to put it almost any other way. Where it seems like she wants to go to back to the days of the Judgment Day when she was already the biggest and baddest. She was a lot like Gunther, but you know, she would do an opportunity to get an advantage. You know, she would do something like that. And I think this quest for her to get back the championship might turn her heel to the point where she kind of like drives herself crazy to get it back. Io Sky, I have gotten a lot of respect for. I had to eat my words. Basically, there was a time period when I didn't watch as much wrestling. And I remember when they said that Rhea was going to fight Io on Raw for the championship after Elimination Chamber. I was like, why are they hyping this up like a main event? Isn't Io Sky like a walkover? Isn't she just like the last one on the roster? That's honestly what I thought of her. I didn't know she was a former NXT champion. I didn't know about her time in Lucha Underground. I didn't know, she was a former champion on the main roster. I just didn't know. The chick's good. I think this match is going to come together really well. I'm surprised that they would do a 3-way, but I think they're playing off of Evolution. With Naomi breaking up their singles match, I think the only fair thing for them to do is put all 3 of them in the match again. But then you think about the buildup of the match with Jade, with Rhea and Bianca. Oh, by the way, is Bianca on SmackDown now? Is that why she was the ref of that match? And did pretty much her and Naomi switch sides? Or no, wait a minute. Bianca always was on. No, I don't know. But fuck it. Bianca, she's on SmackDown now, I guess. For being that special guest referee. But I'm going to take Naomi to get the win here. I think they're going to get her over as champion. And she might not have the longest run in the world, but I think her reign is at least going to last one major pay-per-view along the way. Hey! What is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. I just got off of work. Day kind of sucked. That's the only comment that I kind of have about that one. But SmackDown this week, we got a big match for SummerSlam. SummerSlam is honestly fitting together, looking like a really, really good card. I've said a few times that SummerSlam kind of scares me because of the fact that it is a 2-day event. And I think it's the first SummerSlam to do that. Now they've sort of showed that they're able to do it with WrestleMania, and they're able to build 2 stable cards, and we don't have to sit around for 8-9 hours waiting for a pay-per-view to finish. They can kind of give it to us in a 3-hour event. It's up to you if you want to watch the 2-hour pre-show, if you want to watch the 1-hour post-show. You can get it from there. But we have for the United States Championship, Solo Sikoa is going to be defending against Jacob Fatu, but not in a regular match. We basically saw with Solo stealing the United States Championship match at Night of Champions by just having strength and numbers. He's having 3 guys on the outside. Jacob Fatu is kind of like the one-man warrior, standing all by himself. I'm sure that if he wanted to recruit some of his family, maybe, a Jimmy Uso, a Jey Uso, maybe even Roman Reigns would want to be standing tall with him. But there's a lot of news about Jacob Fatu looks like he might be somebody that WWE is trying to put a lot of stock behind and really push to like being a top star in the foreseeable future, saying that like Jacob Fatu as well as like Rhea Ripley are the stars that they can see themselves building around in the future, being like the forefront main event guys, knowing that they have a future in this company. They're not going through the performance center looking for the next big star. They kind of feel like they're kind of sitting pretty right now. They're always going to be building, but they're not desperate, I guess is the way to say. Jacob Fatu, if he stands alone, I can tell you the angle that they run on SmackDown. I guess they ran on SmackDown. I apologize. After I said it, I thought I was going to let it slide, but then I just kept on thinking about it. But with the cops, with them trying to get Jacob Fatu arrested, kind of using his record against him, and then having it turn around and bite Solo Sikoa in the butt. It did remind me a lot of Vince McMahon as well as Stone Cold Steve Austin back in the good old days when Vince was always trying to get Stone Cold arrested. I believe it was in the Garden, as when the cops came in and cuffed him, dragged him all the way out. I can remember the other time when Stone Cold Steve Austin was sitting down in his truck waiting to get a hold of Vince McMahon, and Vince was doing everything he could to make sure that Stone Cold didn't come into the arena, for Stone Cold to drag Vince to the middle of the ring, tell him he was going to shoot him in the head, sitting there holding the gun. Vince made a promise to the USA Network there would be no more guns in wrestling after the Brian Pillman, Stone Cold Steve Austin incident. And the same exact guy, that was in the last gun angle, is holding a gun up to Vince's head, and then he pulls the trigger, and out comes the bang thing, and it was like a Tweety and Sylvester kind of like cartoony gimmick there. But Jacob Fatu is one bad mother. And I wonder, if they wouldn't have like really split up the bloodline, and Roman, went on his hiatus and this, that, and the other, would Jacob Fatu even be a guy that's in WWE? They had all the time in the world. I don't know if it was Jacob didn't want to sign with WWE because he didn't want to move to Orlando and do the whole performance center deal, but he was going to Miami and like wrestling for MLW all the time. He was one of the main guys there. He was also doing a lot of West Coast stuff, but I believe he lives out here. But I don't know. Was Jacob Fatu somebody that was on their radar that they wanted to sign, or they brought in just to kind of be the muscle for the Bloodline group, and then they kind of thought that when the storyline was over, he would just kind of fade away. And now here they are saying that they want to, put this guy up in bright lights. Solo Sikoa, he's got Tongaleo, he's got the Hikuleo, and then he's got the what the heck is that guy's name? It's JC Manu. I think that's what it is. We'll just call him Jeff Cobb, without fear of people calling us marks or something like that for calling their non-WWE televised name. They might as well just come out and start calling the guy Jeff Cobb. I mean, the first time that Michael Cole saw him, that's what he said his name was, and all of a sudden it just magically changed the next time we saw him wrestling on SmackDown. But I think that this SummerSlam match, we're going to see Jacob Fatu get his championship back in the steel cage. I understand that the thought of the steel cage match is keeping, people out of the match, so it is a one-on-one affair between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. But we've seen many instances of the heels hitting the ring and basically getting into the door, and then they lock the door. And they can turn this into a 4-on-1 ordeal, as even if Jimmy Uso comes out to try and make the save. If Jey Uso wants to come down and try and help out, that the heels are just able to, you know, hit them as they try to climb up over, and they're just knocking them down, and there's no way of getting in there to help them. Solo Sikoa should get hits. I mean, honestly, that's just the best way there is to do it. Where they go with the MFTs, I'm not really quite sure, but I think SummerSlam needs to be a moment of Jacob Fatu winning that championship, holding it high, and going on a reign that we're honestly proud of. If they do really have plans of pushing him to the heavens, if he's going to be a guy that, you know, goes out and has matches against, you know, Gunther or Seth Rollins in the foreseeable future, whoever's going to be holding that World Heavyweight Championship belt or a WWE title, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's one reason why you have him lose this match and then just leave the United States title in the dust. But if I had bettor's money and I was throwing it down on a wrestling bet, I honestly think Jacob Fatu's winning this belt. I think he's winning this match, and it's off to the races from here. Fatu for the win. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today on a Saturday. Went out today, went to the card show, came home to kind of like recharge the batteries before heading over to SmackDown. Was cruising around, and I ended up watching that Briscoe Brothers doc that's on AEW's. They made it with the Athletic Tribune. I thought it was going to be about the Briscoe Brothers, and although I've seen a few documentaries that ROH made about the Briscoes, I thought it kind of was going to be like that, even though it was only like 20 minutes. It gave us like a brief story of them like growing up and getting into the wrestling business. Quickly shifted into Jay dying in the car crash, and like the kids, what they went through to like get back to where they are, and like kind of like getting it back together, of them being a family and being all together. I think I probably cried for 15 of the 20 minutes. No joke, dude. Sad story, sad doc. Honestly, would recommend anybody go out there and see it. Whoever watched the Briscoe Brothers wrestle, whether if it was AEW, whether it was ROH, whether you saw them anywhere else. This is like it's a damn good watch, even though it's not really about wrestling. But we're gonna have a street fight at SummerSlam. Main event. They've signed the deal of the SmackDown. John Cena going up against Cody Rhodes. I don't think this really changes much of anything. Them calling it a street fight, but are they trying to like hide the fact that it's going to be like a no disqualification? That there's going to be like some sort of like outside interference? Are we looking to something with like Braun and Bronson and Seth, you know, being involved? I don't know. Is it going to turn into a WrestleMania 40 affair? Much like, I think it was the end of Night of Champions, the Punk match, where everybody came running out. Penta got involved. Sami Zayn was out there. I mean, is that kind of what they're doing? I don't think so. But I'm falling for what everybody else is doing shortly before the contract signing on SmackDown. When Cody Rhodes came out, he posted a picture of him wearing a watch. People are saying that's the same watch that The Rock was wearing the last time that we saw him in WWE. And like we see him wearing these glasses that are a lot like the glasses that The Rock was wearing the night that he showed up on Raw. I believe it was the debut episode of Raw where like The Rock magically became a babyface. I think he even wore him when he showed up on NXT the next night. But are they hinting that The Rock is coming back? I mean, honestly, I've talked about this 1,000 times. Like, I know The Rock is on the board. The Rock's going to be able to show up whenever he wants to show up. The last time that he showed up was the Elimination Chamber. He said that he wasn't even supposed to be there. But he did it because somebody higher than him in TKO said they needed help selling tickets for the Elimination Chamber. We've had a lot of events for WWE, and they're selling a lot of tickets. They're charging a lot of money. There's been other shows that haven't been sellouts. Why did they ask The Rock to show up in Toronto and not ask The Rock to show up anywhere else? Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but there's gonna come a day when The Rock is in WWE again, whether if he needs to be, whether they want him to be. Until the day we see him out there, I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for the Rock versus Roman WrestleMania 42 match. I'm not falling for Rock versus Cody finally happening. That guy is on his own schedule, good way or bad way. I'm trying to make it negative, but I also really completely understand why he's not a full-time dude in WWE, because there's other ventures out there. He was doing TV, he's doing movies, he's got skincare lines, tattoo lines, Terramana, whatever the heck, tequila. He'll do just about anything. He's not really on the same line of Shaq making commercials for just about everybody, but are they playing off on Cody's interview at the Fanatics Fest, basically saying that he thinks that the babyface version of Cody Rhodes in WWE is coming to an end? They feel like he's done just about everything. And I mean, Cody was one hell of a heel when he was in Impact. He was in the Bullet Club, and you can make your own claim whether you think the Bullet Club are baby faces or if they were heels. He's played both sides of the coin. When he was in WWE playing a heel, he wasn't really turned up the same way, and he really wasn't pushed the same way. So you can't say that Cody doesn't work in WWE as a heel because of what he did in the past when he was wearing the dashing face guard kind of deal. This is different. But I don't know. I mean, it would be one hell of a day if they did some sort of a double turn where The Rock says Cena sucks as the champion and slams the door and basically makes it where Cody is now the heel that is backed by The Rock, and The Rock's the guy that he always wanted. What storyline they would tell if it's just Cody wants the championship back that bad, and he knows that if he accepts The Rock's offer, Rock's going to make sure that he's champion. That doesn't make any sense, because yeah, he lost at WrestleMania 41, but he made sure his team won at Money in the Bank. He knows he can beat Cena. He knows that on a fair playground, one-on-one, if they fight, he's going to win. If he turns heel, to me, that kind of seems like he doesn't believe in himself. And that's just a bad day. I mean, that sucks. But we got August 2nd. I think we've got 2 editions of Monday Night Raw. On SmackDown, we got 2 more matches. 2 that we knew of. I guessed them in my live stream that I did on Tuesday, talking about SummerSlam. I guessed it was going to be Charlotte and I almost called her Alicia Fox. Alexa Bliss. Going up against the Judgment Day for the titles. It's just going to be one-on-one this time, unlike at Evolution where they did the 4-way. And then Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu for the United States title. This time, steel cage. Hopefully keeping out My Family Tree, the MFTs. But you never know. I've seen some steel cage matches where it's just basically all the heels get in there. They beat the hell out of the babyface, and no one can come in to make the save because they lock the door and nobody can get over the top. They just keep on getting hit as they climb the cage. So we'll have to see. I don't believe anything that I said today. Like, I don't think that we're going to see The Rock. I don't think that we're going to see heel Cody. I don't know, but I don't even know how those items show up on Cody's wrist and Cody's face. Like, did The Rock, like, put him on a private jet and fly him over, and, like, there's no people? It's just they flew down the glasses and a watch. And he was wearing a ring in the picture. I didn't recognize the ring, if that was a Rock ring or if that was Cody's own wedding ring or whatever it is. I just didn't recognize it. I don't even think I looked at it clear enough. But it's one of the things to make the story even bigger than it really is. So we'll see what goes down Monday Night Raw tomorrow. We just had Cena get laid out by Cody on SmackDown, so I don't think we're going to get him on Raw. But at least we got 2 more SmackDowns. Maybe we'll see the story there. So SummerSlam, Cena versus Cody. One hell of a night. Let's go.